Hello everybody, welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. Today we have our old friend Extranapkins, also known as Steve. He's joining us, and we're just going to talk a little bit, answer some of your questions, and hopefully it'll be a fun conversation. So, how are you doing, Steve? How's it going?
Things are pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How's your lockdown going? Are you, so you're on the West Coast. Is it a full lockdown for you? What do you have to, are you out to work at all? Are you doing anything, you know what I mean? Or what's up with that?
I mean, I don't have a real job anyway, so
Okay.
things haven't changed that much for me.
Yeah.
For a lot of people I know, it seems like the isolation is hard for them because they're normally going to work every day and stuff. And now that they're home alone, they're not, it's more isolation for them. But yeah, I don't know. I've been home most days anyway. And now my girlfriend's, I live with her. She's got to work from home too. So it's like someone else is there all the time for me now.
Oh yeah.
It's like more people are around,
So yeah, it's actually
the opposite of isolation, I guess.
Sure. This is your social time now. It's like other people are yeah. Okay. I see.
They're locked in with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, not drive her crazy.
Sure. So it's the same. I don't know. It's so California, right? So are you in California or?
Oh yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay. So it's shut down the same as I think here where you just can't, you're not really supposed to go out at all, or is it I don't know, because it seems like the United States is different in a lot of places. I don't know. So. Oh
yeah, I'm not sure. I know they closed most stores. The grocery stores are open shorter hours. Restaurants are takeout only. I don't know. I hear people say things like, someone posted something one time that was cops are ticketing people for non-essential trips, but I think she was just lying, making things up. I haven't seen anything like that. There's no reason to go out really. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I guess they closed the parks.
Did you get your Trump dollars yet?
Yeah, I got that.
Oh, nice.
Pretty exciting.
You got any plans for it?
No, I guess just use it to pay rent and buy food and stuff, normal stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm planning for. I have a budgeting app that I use, and as soon as I get it, I'm just going to plug it right into that, and it'll be an extra month or whatever paid up.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on was because a few years ago you had that podcast, Good Smell Flannel, which actually indirectly sort of encouraged me to maybe do my own podcast because it was nice to hear, it was a very pleasant podcast because it's very talking like a normal person throughout it kind of thing. A lot of other podcasts I find were very much high energy, punchy, news of the day stuff that just, it seems like it takes a lot of I don't know. It's almost like the attitude you have to have sometimes for some of those is almost like a bully kind of thing, or a bubble pipe or something. And so I don't know. It's nice that it was nice to hear just pleasant stories and stuff and nice chatting and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks. So many podcasts turn me off with the high energy and the fake laughing and the I don't know what they're trying to radio people talk radio. I don't know what the affect is, but obviously I don't do it.
YouTuber kind of stuff. That's the the impression I get is that it's the same thing that YouTubers are doing, where it's just trying to keep you engaged, regardless. They're afraid that what they're saying is interesting, so it's just shouting at you, barking at you.
Yeah, I can't take much of that. I don't know much about that stuff.
Yeah. Although I saw you on Truth Point, that was good. The stand up, I saw you do the one where it was about the candidates.
Yeah.
And that was fun. So.
Yeah, that was interesting. No, that was kind of fun because I did stand up real life comedy in front of people for a couple of years, and then I guess when I moved to Los Angeles about 2 years ago, I stopped doing that at all, which I guess is the wrong way to do things. But anyway, I stopped when I moved out here.
Yeah.
And then, they asked me to do that on the show. And so I was playing an open mic comedian who was, had been training in their open mic for years and finally got his big chance to be on the big time Truth Point. And I pre-recorded it, but I don't know. I assumed I would be right back in it and good, but it's hard. Cameras are being in front of a camera was weird and different, and I just kind of like figured I'd be good, and kind of they took the first take, and I kind of like froze and stammered and a couple times, and then finally like asked to bail out and stop. And they just ignored me, and then used that take. They were like, "No, that was perfect. That was the best one." Like it couldn't. I thought you were doing it like as a bit, but it was like real desperation and terror.
Oh no.
Well, that's fun. I guess that's cool.
I guess they liked it, so yeah. Let's just I pretended I did it on purpose, I guess.
Sure. So is there
Truth
is there
Point? Sorry, Truth Point is the drill and Derek.
Derek?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And so you haven't done stand up in LA? You're not.
I did it once or twice a couple of years ago, but no, I haven't. I haven't. I guess I gave
Is
it.
there?
I guess I.
Yeah. Is there some reason? Is it just because the comedy scene is quite different there, or is it just?
I mean, I go to see comedy pretty.
Sure.
I went to see comedy pretty often when the world was still going.
Yeah.
But I don't have whatever it is in me that makes me a stand-up comedian. I guess I don't know.
You're not really. You don't have like the same impulse that a lot of people do, I guess, out there to
Attention seeking.
Yeah, something about that. Or I guess if you do it here, you have to do it like for real as like a job thing. It can't just be like a fun, like a way to kill time or whatever. I don't know. I'm probably just, part of it's probably just like preemptively quitting so before I could fail at it or not find any kind of success or whatever. I'm sure that's part of it, but.
Yeah, I guess. Do you find that people out there are really like success oriented around that kind of stuff, like the people that you encounter, or is that more just kind of it's more who you meet and stuff, or is that like I don't know, because that's like the cliche is always that people in New York or outside of LA and stuff are very negative about everything, but then when you move there to California, everyone's like super positive about everything and about like trying to collaborate and work together and make things and stuff, and to try to like I don't know, that's the cultural difference for for entertainment and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess so. You see that to some extent. I mean, there's definitely times when I meet someone and feel like they scan me and realize that I'm not worth, that I can't get them anything or not worth talking to at all, and just like go invisible immediately to them. But I mean, there's like, I've met a lot of really cool, nice people, and I mean, Derek and Drill and all the I've met a bunch of Twitter people out here, or I guess real people who I knew through Twitter.
Sure.
And everyone's nice and friendly and cool. I mean, there definitely are those people that the dead-eyed psycho careerist people, but
yeah. Are you finding it like okay to pay the bills and everything, kind of get by? Is it like is it okay? Because I know it's pretty expensive out there, right? But is it kind of going okay so far? Or?
Yeah, things are good.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, with the art stuff, so you've been doing a bit of. I mean, you do like I see like the cards and stuff and the posters and whatnot. Like, but that we can put the link and stuff in there. Because I don't know, it's cool work. I don't know what and
Thanks.
Yeah, it's good.
No,
and,
yeah, I do a thing through Patreon where I print like 100 something postcards. I like screen print them every month and send them all over the world and to people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pays most of my rent.
Cool. Yeah, it's funny because
cool.
I had intended to sign up as soon as I had my own place, and then I haven't had my own place yet. So it's just there's some level of I felt weird about like sending it to my uncle's house or something. I don't know, like you know what I mean, like just I just like and especially So, but so how is that going right now in lockdown? Are you able to get work done, or is it like is it? I guess you said there's more people around in some respects, but like, and I don't know. I feel like for me, my sleep schedule has been completely off, and everything's been a bit weird. Even though it's not like much has changed in my life because just I just stay home most of the time anyways too. But like, how's the work coming along?
Yeah, definitely. I'm on kind of the same wavelength. I mean, I got the monthly. I have the monthly thing, the once a month sending the cards out, and that's fine. I've done it a couple times now, I guess. But yeah, I'm the same way where I tend to naturally just like stay up late and sleep in and have trouble getting to bed and trouble, it's hard to not just wake up and like read the news or dick around on Twitter all day and zone out and read about horrible things happening. Yeah, it's hard to do creative stuff. I've got some longer comics projects I'm working on that I'm kind of in the middle of, and it's hard to feel like you're making progress.
Have you always done this sort of like creative stuff? Like you said, you don't really have a real job. Have you ever had quote unquote a real job? Or
oh yeah, I lived in
sort of
Illinois and worked at like a grocery store for a long time, like a co-op grocery store. I was in the kitchen for a couple of years, which I really liked, but I got like carpal tunnel kind of stuff from that, which was a bummer. Anyway, and then worked like doing cash registers and kind of a manager for a while, and then yeah, when I moved out here, haven't found anything yet.
Yeah. So do you prefer that kind of thing, or do you like sort of being independent and kind of like, making a living off
yeah,
art
stuff,
and
it's
all that kind of thing?
Easier, or it's less. Having a job is a bummer. I don't know how long I can get away without it, but also, it gives you structure. It gives you, people, coworkers, and a place to go. When I was working at the grocery store and, talking to people in that function all day and doing stand-up at night, I guess I was better at talking and more personable and able to talk to people better than now. I'd probably be better if I was still doing that on your show here, but I don't know.
No.
I think you're fine, Steve. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I find that for myself is that even when if I don't go out for a few days, I haven't really been into town for a few weeks now, kind of thing. I live out in the middle of the countryside kind of thing.
Okay.
And I find I feel like if I went out and was like doing things now, I'd probably only be able to handle like a few minutes before I got too anxious or something, and because it's just like I lose a lot of those skills and I lose a lot of the basic being able to tolerate talking to people kind of thing. And
yeah, exactly.
But I actually I don't know, I feel like there is something healthy about being in constant interaction with different people and stuff, but I don't know. I think it's going to be strange if it keeps going on and on, but we're going to have to find alternatives and stuff just to keep that sort of connections and stuff going. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know.
Are things much different where you guys are?
It's here. I'm in Chicago. It's pretty similar to what you described. Like a lot of stores are closed, although it seems like some of the ones that were closed are now opening back up. I noticed some restaurants in my area that had closed that have opened back up, and those are considered essential. So I think that they were not like ordered to be closed; they just decided to close or something. And school they just announced that school is going to be closed for the rest of the academic year. So that's interesting. That pretty much the last like month or so they've been out. So yeah, I mean the buses are free,
that is nice.
So that's cool. They make you get on in the back, and because there's no like little machine like the thing that you like tap your card on to charge your fare, that whole thing, that's not in the back of the bus. So they just said if there's no fee thing there, then you don't have to pay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's
here that's like everything is shut down basically almost completely. Like there's a Walmart, and it's very strange in there because it's like Walmart is already kind of a strange store just in general, I guess. I find it's kind of just a weird big place, but they have like tape all over the floor now everywhere, so that like it's like a grid pattern throughout the entire store so that you stay away from people, and so you know how far you are from other people just to make sure. And everything is sprayed down and everything is, I don't know, and that's like basically the only store that's open. I've been to Walmart twice in the past probably like month and a half, and other than that everything else is closed down basically. Like the restaurants have where you can kind of pick up things that's like drop off whatever, but like say to get into town from here we have to drive about 15 minutes just to get into like any sort of civilization basically. So that like it's very strange. It feels like I'm out, I don't know. It's like it's very, but I mean it's also, I can't complain because I'm out in the countryside, so it's like you can take like a nice walk around and by the lake or something, down by the lake, and it's
that is nice.
Yeah, that's better than a lot of, I feel if I were trapped in a place in a city, I might feel more claustrophobic about that or something. So yeah.
Yeah, I just went for a walk in the park today, and it's nice just to have that as an option. I haven't really been taking advantage of it as much as maybe I should, but it's just nice that it's there. You know, like I'm not. I think there's a big difference between like if you have the option or if you don't. Like if you don't, you really feel locked in or whatever. But if as long as you know that you can go see some trees and some wildlife and some greenery and that kind of stuff, it just feels less. Like
yeah, right when it started here, like at the
that.
beginning of March, it also like rained every day. Like we had a really rainy March for some reason, so that was just kind of a bummer. Just being trapped inside and having it cold and rainy, also cold for LA.
Yeah, is it heating up quite a bit now, or is it? I don't know the temperature wise what it would be there. I'm used to Canada, so it's always it's extremes, but yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty moderate all the time. It's in the 60s mostly. Yeah, it was warm and sunny for like January, February, and then March was like the cold, rainy month for some reason.
Are you working on any sort of like skills or anything? Like you're trying to, like people are trying to teach themselves languages and all that kind of stuff, or is there anything like additional? You're like, okay, I'm going to use this time for this or something, or?
Yeah, I've been building these synthesizers, like modular synthesis kind of stuff. I guess it's just something I started this year after Christmas. I guess it's like a little bit lower quality kind or something. But I've been making these little, you can find schematics and circuit stuff online. So I build little pieces and put them in these like lunch boxes and then connect them to each other with wires and stuff. And so yeah, I've been doing that a lot.
Yeah, they look cool. Yeah, I was listening to some of them you had on. I think it was like on Instagram or Twitter, one of them.
Yeah,
and yeah, they're neat. They seem like very like low tech or something, like kind of just the very basics being, but they sound cool. Yeah, so
yeah, it's fun. If you can build all these different things and plug them into each other and attach them in different ways, so you can kind of just always make new things and add them in. And it's like you find, you test out the circuit on a breadboard and get it to work, and that'll take like a whole day, and then solder it together more permanently and test it out and make sure it works and everything, and that'll take a day or two on its own. So there's kind of always just more stuff to do, fill my days, I guess.
Yeah. So do you think you would is it like do you have like an outcome for that other than just what you're sort of playing around right now with, or is it like going to be, do you have like some aim for the long term with that kind of thing? Like, is it to make certain types of music or something, or is it just to see how it goes?
Yeah. When I was a 20-something, I used to go do a lot of like experimental noise music stuff, and I played it with I had a band for a while, and I would do guitar pedals plugged into each other like feedback loops. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this. I doubt I'm ever gonna perform with it. It's kind of just to have fun, or for myself, kind of just like meditative or something, and just have this slowly changing, slowly evolving patterns or whatever. I don't know.
Cool.
I used to be into that kind of music too. I kind of messed around with some stuff when I was like in high school, made some of that kind of thing, and I would listen to a little bit of it. Couldn't really listen to the harsh stuff too much, like coming out of Japan is a little bit too much, and I think I gave it a shot, and I was like really listening to it full volume.
That would not be fun.
I have tinnitus now. I don't know if it's directly caused by that, but possible, I guess. But yeah. But I was just thinking, like, I wonder if there's some sort of overlap or connection somehow between, because you used to be on Fiad like I was, and we were on Rezone together. Like we kind of have shared a lot of the same internet spaces and the same kind of like sense of humor and the same sensibility in general, maybe. And I just wonder if there's some kind of overlap there.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
I know
noise music and like this sort of like online.
Online people,
culture,
I guess,
whatever you want to call it.
I found out about a lot of music and books through people's recommendations. Dinosaur Jerk and Robert and people used to be into that Japanese noise stuff. Posted a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to go to shows a lot in Chicago, I guess. It it's fun in a live setting, and also it's like, short 10-15 minute sets, and it's just loud and fast and chaotic, and then it's over, and you're in somebody's weird loft that's like half renovated or the start of renovating before it got torn down somewhere, and there's a lot of weird also awkward internet type people around you. I guess it makes more sense in that kind of setting.
It sounds nice. I don't know. I've always been too anxious usually to go to shows, so I've only gone to a few different shows like of different things in my life. Really, I went to and some of it has been electronic, but I don't know. I should actually I think that stuff like that I would enjoy. Like that makes it sound pleasant. Doesn't sound. I know. It sounds strange that you're saying, oh, it's this chaotic music in sort of like dank, renovated, environment, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like it would fit with my mental state. So, but I was thinking maybe we should try to do some questions now. Maybe, Tom, do you think, or from the audience? Yeah. I wrote down a bunch of them to start that I thought would be from people, and one of them, the first one is "It's all about the money, boys," and it was 4 exclamation points. Not sure. It's not a lot of a question there, but agree. But yeah,
is that one of those protesters trying to get the economy reopened?
Yeah, yeah. Someone,
agitating in your Discord channel.
This is Curious Cat, so it's people. This includes the random Yahoos online kind of thing. The people that wander across our profile and need to get their thoughts out to us. So it's all about the money, boys, I guess. So it could be also a Marxist person, kind of being like historical materialist or something about that, like Lenin, who
follow the money.
Yeah. What will Donald do once he gets a blue check? Also, does Tom want one too? And so also Steve doesn't have, I'll add as my aside that Steve doesn't have one yet, but how do you feel about that, Steve? Do you want Jack to get you a blue check and verify your online presence?
I mean, it seems pretty good. I don't care now, but it seems like having the like Bronze Hammer. Sometimes for some reason he'll get a lot of replies. Like he control the news people or whatever. They like reply to him or acknowledge them. I mean, that's the reason to have one, right? Because other blue checks have to they see your posts.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what. So I want one for the main reason why I want one is so that for like the first month afterwards, before I get bored of it, I will reply to all of the local Canadian politicians because it's there's sort of a threshold there where I feel like it would really, really annoy some of their staffers or something like that. So yeah.
They're too comfortable.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. And then after that, I'll pivot and get a job at Wall Street Journal or something and with it and make enough money to, I don't know, buy real estate or whatever you'll do.
First you get the blue check, then you get the investment
direct
properties.
Line to it. Yeah, direct line. Yeah. So how about Tom? How are you feeling about this?
I think it would make it a little bit difficult for me to, infiltrate socialist groups and kind of undermine the revolutionary effort if I had a big blue check mark indicating that I was working for the man or whatever.
Sure.
So I kind of like going undercover and not having the whole verified thing kind of blowing my cover, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm happy to, because I got the protection from the CIA anyways, so it doesn't really give me anything. It just sort of makes it a little more obvious.
So what do you guys think about existentialism?
Well, the problem with that term is that it's kind of broad and a little bit vague and ill-defined, so it really depends on what exactly are you asking about. I like some existentialist thinkers. I like Camus, fine, I really like The Stranger, actually. I read that like everybody else in high school, but I really liked that book. I thought it was just like a nice read. And, I like Kierkegaard. I think it's fine. I think there's also kind of a side of existentialism that sort of that I don't agree with that kind of becomes a little bit too self-involved or something. It's a little bit kind of like, I don't know, it sort of veers into libertarianism or something like that. And that's not something that I'm very interested in or that I think that I would agree with, like just the fundamental principles of it all. But yeah, it's fine, but it really depends on what you're talking about.
Steve, I know a lot of your the stuff that I've read that you've produced, and also even your usernames and whatnot have related to sort of things related to existentialism in different ways. And so I thought I'd ask about that and see if you've ever been have you like do you get into that sort of thing a lot, or you know what I mean, like read about it or
yeah. I mean, I read The Stranger at 17, 18 too, probably, and that was I thought it was cool. I took a class my freshman year of college. I did you had to take these kind of seminars and like specific topics, and I took one on existentialism, where we read Camus and Sartre and Fanon and who was Sartre's wife? I forget. Anyway, it was a cool class. Yeah, de Beauvoir. But anyway, a lot of the stuff about things being in themselves, or not having essential, I forget what it was, but a lot of it seemed like self-evident to me already before I read it, or I don't know, sorry, I'm not speaking clearly. It's the descriptive stuff makes sense, the going from that to any kind of like you should act a certain way or you should behave in a certain way. It seems like they never really make that. There's not really anywhere to make that connection. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was more depressed, that part of it really, really disappointed me, kind of thing, because I'd be reading all these things that'd be really, I thought, incisive descriptions of all the, sort of anxiety and things that I was feeling, and then the sort of, so you should be happy kind of thing, just or whatever, just never really. It never.
Yeah, that doesn't really get you anywhere.
Yeah, the jump didn't really make sense to me there. So yeah,
I do like the classic like, existential novel of the disaffected male character who kind of wanders around and things happen to him and he never really makes any effort or makes any. I always enjoyed that sort of story. That kind of that appeals to me.
Sure. Yeah, and. I think you posted one like a comic the other day that was the person that is getting pelted, whatever, like, and was wearing the suit and gets pelted, and then repeats the stories and whatnot, and I don't know, that that sort of thing very much seems to sort of resonate with that, with sort of existential sort of themes, whatever. But
I've got more of that planned out. It's kind of ongoing. Haven't updated it, I think, since February. It's one of the things I'm having trouble getting to work on. But
sure, yeah.
It's supposed to be ongoing.
But yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. So the next question is, every time I see your podcast title, I think of that song You Can't Win from The Wiz. I picture Donald as the Michael Jackson Scarecrow and Tom as one of the taunting crows.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's about right.
So that's not where we got it from, but it could be. That will be once we become like a musical theater podcast or something, we'll transition into that, and then we'll try to convince people that that's where we got it from, and then we'll make those huge musical theater dollars. Like, maybe we could become like a Hamilton podcast.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like
yeah, I think our audience would love that.
And then,
when we first started the podcast and I was setting up the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff, I just sort of like typed in "You Can't Win" to see what pops up when you search that on YouTube, and that's the first time I ever like knew about The Wiz thing. I had never heard of it before, so I saw that and I was like, whoa, Michael Jackson is in this is crazy. And I showed it to Tabs and she was like, yeah, this is super famous, how did you not know about this? So
I never really knew much about it. I'd never seen it before, whatever. I googled the song for when I saw the question, and very strange. I don't know.
It's a pretty weird musical. The movie, I mean.
Yeah.
I watched it a year or two ago.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For the first time.
So, have you guys ever read Homage to Catalonia by Orwell? a guy who's a big-time rich corporate lawyer I know says it's one of its favorite books. Also, he's a trot. So
Yeah, so that's where he goes to Spain and hangs out with the anarchists and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I've read that.
What, do you like it or not? Or, I don't know. Yeah.
It was fine. I really didn't find it objectionable, but I also didn't think it was particularly amazing or anything. Like people seem to have pretty extreme opinions about it because they kind of project something onto it, like it sort of represents something to them politically, and then they sort of have their own political position, and it becomes like this totem for that. And I thought it was, if you just kind of take it for what it is, it's just an interesting little experience that he had, and it wasn't great, wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Steve, have you read it or?
No. I read Animal Farm in 1984, but I think that's it.
Yeah. Monster Catalonia, I mean, I liked it in that, so, yeah, like a lot of people read it and kind of come across, get this very romantic idea of, going off to fight in a revolution and whatnot. But I started rereading it last year, and the thing that really shocked me the most, like, sort of came across was just how stupid his life ended up being, kind of thing. Like war is just so stupid, and it's not like he couldn't really hide that. Like, I mean, he didn't want to. Like, that his whole kind of point of that was that, sometimes he might have to have a revolution like this. He might actually have to do something, it might be necessary to fight or whatever. But he just talks a lot about, like, rats and, his feet getting soaking wet for, like, days and him having to crawl through the mud and all this stuff. It sounds so bad. It's not even like, it's not like, I don't know. So I don't know why. Yeah, I feel strange that a lot of people read it and then they're like, "Oh man, I wish I was with all the rats." And
yeah, I kind of felt the same way, where it seemed to highlight a lot of like the mundane shittiness of living like that. Another thing that struck me about it was how like segmented the country had become, and even like within cities and stuff, it really seemed like much more difficult to get things from one place to the other. Yeah,
I also thought that like the overall arc of it kind of played into this idea that maybe it wasn't a good idea for him to go, because he just he lives through this terrible, all these betrayals and all these like very, very terrible things where he's just for months or whatever is just sitting in mud and cold and whatnot, and the other side has like top of the line weapons, a lot of them, and not his side just has broken rifles and all that, and he and then he gets shot in the throat, like that's what happened to him, and has to leave, and that's it. Like, just kind of I don't know, it's almost like an existentialist novel of its own or something. He could have, if he was French, he would have bitched that in a different direction, I think. But yeah, I don't know, that's a very I don't know. And then later on, he even said, he had a quote where he said that, like, he wrote about the Spanish Revolution later on, and he said, when I wrote that book, I thought it was pretty obvious that, like, the Germans and, all the Spanish troops and that had just superior weapons and firepower, and no one else in the world was really, other than the Soviet Union, was backing up the the Republican side. And he's like, so there was no real way to win, he said. Like, there's no way you could have, I mean, there may be some long shot strategy or whatever might have won, but, like, he said basically they were screwed. So it's funny because a lot of the people that read that book, that's their kind of angle for that, is like, oh, look at, they got betrayed and, they should have tried to fight without the Soviet Union or something. And it's like, no, just life sucks sometimes. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah. So the next question is, can we get some cheering applause for essential workers, especially CIA assets and their handlers? So
I was going to say, boo, no, shut up, go back to work. But yeah, CIA assets.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a strange phenomenon. I don't know.
I hate it. I really hate that shit. And the dancing, all the TikTok dancing and stuff, that just gets on my nerves for some reason.
I find it, I don't know. I find it very strange. I guess people just want to be able to do something, some people. But I feel like the higher up you go in the food chain, the less it, I don't really want to hear, like if like Boris Johnson is telling people to cheer or something like that, then I don't want to do that, whatever. But like, if it's like some random person on my street being like, oh yeah, we got to clap for healthcare workers, it's like, yeah, okay, well, fine. But like, yeah, if it's like, Jeff Bezos or something. I don't care, but yeah.
Right.
Okay. Do you guys have any favorite K-pop bands? Steve, do you got a favorite K-pop band?
I don't understand what that is at all, or why it's happening. It's totally baffling to me.
Yeah.
Nothing I've seen from it makes any sense.
Yeah. It's terrifying. Yeah. It's one of those things where I don't know how it's allowed at some level. I guess it's, like it's just like and people, it's like the extremely synchronized dancing and all that, and I don't know. It seems like one of those things where they just they pack them up at the end of the night or whatever and all that kind of thing. It's very ominous, and I don't know. It seems ominous that like a lot of people I know really like it, and so there's got to be something there that like I don't understand. So yeah.
I think it's sort of like, those bands in the 90s like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all that kind of stuff. It sort of feels like the Koreans saw that and were like, yeah, let's do that.
Like, yeah,
let's make it in a sweatshop. So they just like churn this stuff
mass
out.
produce these guys.
Yeah.
And it's
I've heard that the conditions that the performers have to work in and stuff is like really bad.
Yeah.
Like they have like mental breakdowns and stuff, and they're like locked into these contracts that are very. I mean, I don't want to compare it necessarily to slavery, like in a direct way, but like that they are unable to get out of it. They're forced to work, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have any kinds of political opinions or.
Well, that's fine. Koreans are not good with that. Like they should.
but it is very, very ominous to me. It makes me it's so strange that it then makes me then think about stuff that is happening here in the same way, like the entertainment industry or whatnot, or journalism or anything. I kind of go like, wait a minute, hold on. Is that like what we're been doing the whole time? Is that all being the same? Like is it all like all the bands that I like, being locked up at night and all that kind of thing? I don't know. So there's it's that level of ominous to me. But yeah.
Between the K-pop people talking about it, and then also there's a whole segment of, I guess, young people trying to reevaluate like new metal and being like, a lot of it's actually really good to listen to. And just these like stuff that we've lived, people our age, we lived through it once, we got through it. Now they're trying to like take us back to that like dark time and cultural history. Like, it's a bummer.
I mean, it wasn't so bad. I used to listen to Limp Bizkit all the time, and I loved it.
Oh no, they got into him. Yeah. Yeah. If there was a socialist mass uprising tomorrow, would you guys join it?
Yeah, so I could shoot the leader and take over and redirect it towards Sharia or whatever.
Yeah, okay. How about you, Steve? Are you joining
in? Tomorrow's no good for me, but maybe if it's Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know. I'm not really a group activity person most of the time. I could
I don't know what value I would provide.
I'm sorry?
I don't know what value I would provide to the movement.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, I don't know, but I would probably be just happy watching at home kind of thing, and although I feel like I complain too much, so I would probably die within the first year of a revolution or something. I don't know if that makes me for or against it. It is what it is kind of thing. Just have to accept that as my reality. So because there's no way I'm not complaining about whatever happens, even if it's like perfect. So yeah. What next question is, what do you really think of the Dalai Lama? Is he CIA? And so I don't know. It seems like he has like I always think there's this funny clip of him saying that like they were like asked him if he ever had any sexual thoughts or anything like that, and he said that like sometimes when he dreams he closes he's like I close my eyes and he's like I see like a naked woman, and then I go no kind of thing or something like that. They're like I won't do that or something, and I'm like, yeah, that's not true.
That's the MK Ultra program.
That's not. I don't know, but I don't know. It's very strange that he became a world figure, really, if you think about it, kind of thing, like a person that a lot of people know because he just kind of came out of. It's like but I guess it's for it's obviously heavily promoted in that, but if you're gonna have someone that just goes around saying like, be compassionate, be nice to people, and all that kind of stuff, that seems fine. I don't know. You can't complain about that. So I mean, you can, and I will, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, it's not the worst person that's being promoted by heavily in the media and stuff of overall kind of thing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how involved he is with like the whole Tibet-China situation exactly. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's pro-Tibet in a variety of ways, obviously, but I don't know how much of a political, how much political influence he necessarily has or whatever, or like how much this gets promoted by people who are trying to push back on China or whatever. And even if that's the case, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because I don't know. I just don't know enough about the situation to really make a judgment on that. But I do know that he said that someone asked him about like if there could be a female Dalai Lama or whatever, like, because they get resurrected and all this kind of stuff. And he said that, yeah, but she would have to be pretty because no one's going to listen to an ugly person. I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's also funny that China, they created this thing where, so in China, like the religions have to have some sort of, like state broad approval. So there's like a Tibetan church, like a Tibetan Buddhist, organization that's like patriotic, like, so it's the official sort of Chinese one. And they, in that organization, they already selected their own new Dalai Lama, like for the next generation. They like said, okay, this is the person that's like I guess they call it something like Pacha Lama or something. And so he's being selected already by the Chinese government, basically, which I thought is like a power move, because that's like, it's like choosing the next pope or something kind of thing or something, like it's just like saying, yep, that's the next person. So I don't know. That's a very bold thing to do, I think. And you got to give them credit for that, at least, the boldness.
I do want to add, like, if he had any hand in the development or proliferation of Western Buddhism, then I think he's completely satanic, because that's a horrible thing that he's done to all those poor boomers. Their soft little brains are so susceptible to those kinds of ideas. That's just not good.
I think it's pleasant. I think it's nice.
I agree with like Zizek, who I think said it's like the most evil thinking or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have do you have any opinions on Buddhism, Steve?
I don't know anything about it. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's go to the next one. What's a good introduction to Noam Chomsky? So I would say one of the reasons why he was important, and like you might want to read him, is his criticism of, in terms of like foreign affairs stuff. I have no idea about linguistics, but he did like a article about the Vietnam War and its coverage, and how the academics and smarty men all, the way that they framed everything was extremely... it conceded a lot to the pro-war side and just, was totally, evil. And I feel like, I don't know, because there's this new trend to be anti-Chomsky, especially because he said that people should vote for Biden, and he kind of said it in strong terms. And, but yeah, and then my favorite thing by him is Government in the Future, which they put out as a small book, but you can just find online as a speech or just the text of it or whatever, and that kind of just gives his basic worldview on politics, I think, and it's helpful. So, yeah. How about you, Tom?
You can also get on our Patreon and listen to our Noam Chomsky episode. Yeah. We did a whole episode about the guy.
So I did it about that, basically about that, his sort of anarchist politics and what I agree with it on it about. I really like a lot of the way that he frames things. And even though it's not, like, if you know about leftism from Twitter, then I think it's very different from what a lot of people sort of the way that they frame things nowadays. But I think it's useful for things for like the Cold War stuff that people talk about, because for Chomsky, the Cold War was very functional. Like, it was very, like, it was helpful for both the Soviet Union and the United States government, like their elites, to think that they were in rivalry and stuff, and think that they were at the edge of war and whatnot. He thought that was actually, and I think that's true nowadays with Russia and China still in the United States, because I think that there's this race now to try to, say that the United States is trying to go to war with China, and that China is, the helpless victim in that or whatever. And I think it's more functional. I think that China, wants that kind of thing to, like, they want that rivalry sense so that they can, it's helpful for pacification or whatever. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like his look these days.
Oh, he does.
He's
Yeah,
real-
he looks pretty
he's
rough.
real
Yeah,
furry looking.
I don't know. I feel bad for him. He's obviously very very old, and his wife has died and stuff. So I feel bad, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question is, what culture dresses the best in the world?
What popped into mind first for me is like the subcontinent, the shalwar kameez and all that. I think that looks pretty
Yeah,
good.
like India and Pakistan and stuff. You mean?
Yeah, and then like I like the the way women dress there. It's like nice and colorful and drapey and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's probably the
dig that.
prettiest to me. But yeah, so I would go with that too. How about you, Steve? Do you think there's a particular culture that we have to decide? It's not a supremacist thing. We should say. You're not gonna be endorsing
Yeah,
Modi or
definitely not.
something.
If I'm going for the subcontinent, it's not a supremacy vote.
I mean, I guess I got to give it up for the Italians.
Yeah.
Like in The Sopranos, the
Yeah.
some of those Carmela outfits in the early seasons, the way Furio dresses.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good.
Classic, timeless, tasteful.
Sure.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I have like a very waspy kind of repulsion to that sort of thing. It just seems like really tacky to me in a way that I just like can't deal with it.
So, and then the last question I think we'll do is, how do you get over bad habits like arguing? Anyone have any thoughts?
Arguing.
Oh,
Oh, bad habits like arguing? That's a strange example to me.
Yeah.
I read...
Well, if they're on Twitter, it kind of makes sense,
True.
I guess.
I am something I don't know where I heard it or somebody told me a couple of years ago. Like if you're training a dog, you can't just say, don't do that. You can't just say like, don't do something. You have to say like sit or heel or, you have to tell them to do something. And in a lot of ways, your brain is kind of the same, or you can't just tell yourself to stop having bad habits. You have to like find something to do instead, or like replace the habit with a different one or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they recommend like cigarette smokers like get like carrot sticks. I've heard that before, like because it sort of like satisfies the oral fixation, like you're used to having a cigarette in your mouth. So instead, you have like a little bag of carrot sticks and you chew on those all day. Yeah, I think what you said, Steve, makes a lot of sense. I've heard that same sort of principle applied to parenting. Like if you're trying to teach a kid not to do something, you tell them what to do instead of like just telling them don't do something. So I guess if you're trying to avoid a bad habit, you want to like be able to identify when you're doing it. You need to be aware that it's happening, and then B, have some sort of go-to thing that you can do instead. So like if you're getting into arguments on Twitter or whatever, or if let's assume that's what they're talking about, then maybe you just shut down Twitter as soon as you realize what's happening and you go find something else to do. You find a specific thing that you will go do instead.
Or say something positive about people. Build people up instead of tearing people down.
Yeah, I think
Every
that's
time you feel the
good
urge
idea.
to be mean, be nice instead.
Although I did have I was thinking about this the other day. I had a therapist once that you get like, I find that like with therapy and things like that, like you get like a lot of it is you just have to keep going through the bad advice until you get like good advice kind of thing. Because I had this one therapist that said that what I should be doing is looking in a mirror. If I felt sad, I should go to it and look in a mirror and then like smile, just smile, like look in the mirror and smile. And she said that would like positively reinforce smiling so that I wouldn't feel bad and stuff. And I thought that sounded so psychotic to me that I was just like, I don't want to, I don't know. Or like, I can kind of, I guess if it works for someone, it works, but like affirmations and stuff where you like write down or like, I'm great at this or whatever and stuff like that. And just, I don't know. Yeah. It's strange. But so, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess with arguing and stuff, you want to look at what you're getting out of it. Like, what's your goal? What's your point? I always find this strange with like people that are trying to like convince other people of their positions on like detailed things online. Like they actually seek it out. Like the people that, like will follow a keyword or something and then just reply to everyone about that and tell them their opinions on something. I find that like very strange. But so there's got to be some sort of outcome you're looking for from that. And I don't know. That's what I would be, I would be wary about what you're looking for in terms of your like mental result or something. Like, are you actually looking to argue with people for a productive reason, or if it's just because, you know, you're anxious or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I used to get more out of that kind of thing was when I was like trying to learn about a certain political thing or whatever. I would sort of argue about it with people just to kind of feel out how it works, you know, like to kind of see what the arguments are for and against, if it's defensible or not. And as soon as I kind of like feel like I got my fill of that, I have no interest in like just debating with random people online.
Yeah.
So I tend to think like if that's something that you find yourself getting into a lot unproductively and you're not doing that sort of like self-educational thing, it's probably satisfying some kind of impulse that you maybe don't want to be reinforcing like that.
Yeah.
Like it might be some kind of, like you said, anxiety thing or maybe some kind of ego thing or something like that. And that's probably a good thing to try to avoid.
Yeah,
you
although
probably
I
need to get offline.
Yeah, exactly.
And read a book or something.
That's the problem for me. I do it because of anxiety stuff. Like I do bother people online sometimes, and that's because, you know, I just it's just like it is a bad habit. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, I thought, you know, that's the hour, and I wanted to thank, you know, Steve for coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there anything else that you wanted to plug or bring up or tell people about? Or we can put in the notes some of the links and stuff to your various ventures. And
check out patreon.com/stevescards, and for only $5 I'll mail you a little screen printed postcard every month.
And they look very
artwork.
cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so thanks, and cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. All right, guys. So if you want another episode of You Can't Win every week, you can subscribe to our Patreon, and you'll get that, as well as access to our Discord. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening.